The Rebellious Wellness Podcast with your girl, Stephanie. I have a confession to make. I have a love-hate relationship with social media. Shocker, huh? Maybe it's the auntie in me. Maybe because most hot takes are cold AF. Or maybe it's because of how my personality account is set up. I can't stand surface level things. So when soft girl era or soft life hit the scene, I will admit, initially, I could, and still do in some respects, totally relate. Who's not tired of holding it all down? I've been doing it for 30 years. Damn. Did I say that out loud? Note to self. Edit that. And most black women after the 2024 election packed up their piano and went on a permanent mental vacation in Aruba. The DGAF was in full effect. But like always, remember, my personality account. My Virgo analysis kicked in, and I started to wonder if we, black and brown women, white women, older women, younger women, and everyone in between, was truly ready for the soft life. I knew for sure we really didn't know what we were asking for, and I damn sure knew nobody really knew what it took to get it, because a hard wig was not the answer. I knew the answer, and I knew nobody wanted to hear it. Do you think that stopped me? We're here, aren't we? Hell no, it didn't. So I'm going to give you this whether you want it or not. You'll thank me later, or not. That's okay too. So what does it take to get that soft life? Energy recalibration. Balance of the yin feminine and the yang masculine energy. It's time to get your chi on. Today, we'll be talking about the soft girl era and if we want content or contentment, and masculine and feminine energy, or yin and yang, and how when they are balanced, we can experience a true soft girl era. When I hear the term soft girl era, a few things happen for me. First, I roll my eyes and shake my head. Most trendy topics make me do that anyway. It's an uncontrollable reflex. I can't help it. And depending on where you hear it, it can mean a lot of different things. For some, it's about aesthetics, pastel tones, self-care rituals, cozy living, romanticizing life. For others, it's a mindset, slowing down, being intentional, prioritizing peace. Now, once my reflexes have had their way, I hear something deeper. I hear a collective sigh, a soul-level exhale from women who are tired of surviving, tired of proving, performing, producing, and pushing through. And then it's not just a trend. It's a spiritual response, a sign that the body, the mind, and the spirit are all asking to return to balance. When I sit with this idea, I don't see it as an aesthetic movement. I see it as a modern expression of something ancient, the desperate need to balance masculine and feminine energy, or yin-yang force. My biggest nitpick is that often the soft girl era is associated with needing someone else in order to participate in this so-called soft girl era, i.e., I need a man to come and take over so that I can enter into my soft girl era. Girl, please. Being in a relationship will not create a soft girl era for you. It's not about needing someone else to provide it. No one can give you this balance. Only you can. Because of the huge imbalance of feminine or yin, the feminine principle, that has been buried beneath centuries of hustle, hardness, and emotional suppression. It's the collective feminine remembering herself. Now, we may be going about it totally the wrong way and thinking what we need to achieve it. But that longing, that calling, and that desperation to balance that energy, now that is just the body returning to itself, remembering itself. For so long, women have been told that softness equals weakness, that nurturing yourself is indulgent, and that emotion makes you irrational, and that sensitivity is something to be outgrown. You're too sensitive. You need to grow up. I know somebody's mama, auntie, or grandma has said that. And so we learn to survive by building armor. We have inherited generational trauma, and out of that trauma, we have been taught to be hyper independent, over functioning, always strong, always available, always fine. We learned how to make everything look good, and even when it didn't feel good. And now, the soft girl era is whispering something new. It's time to take the armor off. It's time to rest. It's time to remember that softness is not the opposite of strength. It's the source of it. But first, we need balance. Now, balance is a word we hear all the time, almost to the point that it's lost its meaning. We talk about work-life balance, emotional balance. Side note, emotional balance. That's really the source of this whole thing. But I'll get to it. Balancing motherhood and career, balancing our energy. But true balance, the kind that brings healing, is the original rhythm of the universe. The pulse that existed long before language, before systems, before we were told to be or what to chase. That rhythm has many names. Yin feminine or yang masculine energy. The principle of these energies describe how life sustains itself through two complementary forces that are always in motion, always shaping, always seeking harmony. It's the energetic dance between receptivity and action, stillness and movement, feeling and doing. And if you've ever felt burnt out, disconnected, anxious, or numb, you felt what happens when that balance begins to break down. Because when the energies within us fall out of rhythm, the imbalance doesn't just live in our bodies. It shows up in our homes, our relationships, our communities, and even the earth itself. Today I want to explore not only what yin, feminine, and yang, masculine are, but how this sacred balance impacts everything from our emotional well-being, told you, to the state of the world we live in. Because healing the self and healing the collective are not two different things. They are the same. Conversation. So what is yin feminine and yang masculine energy? Well, at its core, they describe the two fundamental energies that make up existence. They're not opposites, they're partners. They rely on each other the way day relies on night, or the way breath relies on both the inhale and the exhale. You can't have one without the other. When these energies flow together, there's harmony. When they're distorted or suppressed, life feels chaotic, confusing, and disconnected. So let's start off with the yin feminine. Yin feminine energy is often described as what we traditionally know as feminine. But I want to be clear, very, very clear. It's not limited to gender. This energy lives in everyone, in every living thing. Yin feminine is receptive, intuitive, emotional, nurturing, creative, reflective, and deeply connected to the unseen world. It's the stillness that allows something to grow, the darkness of the soil before the seed breaks open, the rest between heartbeats. Yin feminine says, listen, feel, receive, be. When yin feminine is healthy, I feel grounded in my intuition. I can move slowly without guilt. I can listen without the need to control. I can love without losing myself. But when yin feminine energy falls out of balance, when it's wounded, repressed, or neglected, it starts to distort. The unbalanced feminine can show up as emotional overwhelm or emotional numbness. It's the part of me, it's the part of us that gives too much, absorbs too much, or feels guilty for needing care. It can also look like creative stagnation, the loss of joy, sensuality, and flow. It's the exhaustion that comes from caretaking everyone else and leaving nothing for yourself. In its shadow form, yin feminine can turn inward and stay there too long, retreating into passivity, avoidance, or fear of being seen. It's the energy of, I'll just stay small. It's safer that way. Yin feminine without yang masculine becomes water without a riverbank, directionless, uncontained, and easily lost. Now, I have a side note. The phenomenon society is seeing today among men is the imbalance of yin feminine energy. Not just boys and men across all age demographics who are retreating into passivity and avoidance, empowered by too much screen time and social media influence, but more importantly, the hypermasculinity that has risen. Attention seeking, always trying to prove yourself, always being on, feeling more powerful when acting or feeling masculine. When your friends or social circle are mostly men, and you live in the realm of immature thoughts or behaviors. These are signs of imbalanced feminine energy. And remember, these energies have nothing to do with gender. I just wanted to make a quick point. I love men, all men, no matter their sexual orientation or how they identify. And I pray that they too find true, authentic healing. Now, the yang masculine energy, on the other hand, is the energy of action, protection, and purpose. It's movement, heat, light, and structure. It's the spark that takes vision and brings it into form. Where yin feminine dreams, yang masculine builds. Where yin feminine nurtures, yang masculine protects. Where yin feminine flows, yang masculine focuses. When yang masculine energy is balanced, you will feel strong yet steady, motivated but not manic, decisive but not domineering. You can take aligned action and follow through on what your heart knows to be true. But when yang masculine becomes wounded, when it disconnects from the heart and tries to lead alone, it becomes control. This is the overworked, outstretched, overachieving energy that runs on fear and caffeine. It's the voice that says, if I stop, everything will fall apart. It's domination instead of direction, competition instead of clarity. It's rigidity, anger, impatience, or the inability to slow down and rest. And sometimes, when yang masculine energy is deeply wounded, it collapses entirely, becoming passive, disengaged, or avoidant. And it's when we feel lost, aimless, or stuck in indecision. Yang masculine without yin feminine is fire without water. It burns everything it touches. And what we're really witnessing right now is the desire for both healing, for both yin and yang, masculine and feminine energy. The wounded feminine has been silenced for so long that she's forgot her voice. She's learned to equate love with sacrifice, strength with endurance, and care with depletion. And the wounded masculine, on the other hand, has learned to dominate, control, and suppress emotion, building systems that prioritize performance over presence. And both are imbalanced. Both are hurting. Healing comes when we let them work together again. When the masculine learns to protect without controlling, and the feminine learns to nurture without losing herself, the world and the soul will begin to heal. When yin and yang, masculine and feminine, are imbalanced, there's flow. Feminine gives meaning to the masculine, and the masculine gives form to the feminine. The inhale feeds the exhale, and the exhale makes space for the inhale. The two energies move in rhythm: creation, release, rest, renewal. In this balance, intuition and action support each other. Logic serves emotion, and emotion informs logic. Compassion guides boundaries. Discipline sustains rest. Now that's wholeness, not one side winning, but both learning how to move in partnership. And that is what healing really is. The reunion of what we've been taught to separate. Think about the world we live in right now. We're surrounded by evidence of what happens when yin feminine and yang masculine are no longer in balance. Not just within people, but within entire systems. For centuries, we've lived under the dominance of a distorted yang, constant production, endless growth, control, conquest, and consumption. Society celebrates the doing, the achieving, the climbing. It calls rest laziness, softness, weakness, and feeling emotions. Those are flaws. That energy built industries and empires and innovation, but it's also built burnout, environmental collapse, and emotional isolation. This is a millennia-old trauma response that has genetically re-injured our survival mechanism, and it's extremely out of balance. And the earth mirrors this imbalance back to us. The climate crisis, the extraction and depletion happening in human bodies, it's not just environmental or physical, it's spiritual. We cut down forests the same way we cut down our intuition, because both of those, they take time to grow. We overfarm the soil the same way we overwork ourselves, pushing until there's nothing left to give. We pollute our oceans with waste the same way we pollute our hearts with unresolved pain. That is the shadow of the wounded yang. Activity without awareness, dominance without direction, and creation without care. And the remedy isn't to swing to the other extreme, which is what we tend to do. It's not to reject action or ambition, but to restore relationship. Bring the feminine back into the conversation, because when the feminine returns, balance returns. The world heals through the restoration of yin, through compassion, connection, and care. The soft girl era requires restoring the inner ecosystem, the place where your feminine and masculine energies coexist. It's not a balancing act, it's a relationship. The feminine says, let's feel, not let's check out. The masculine says, let's act, not let's do nothing. The feminine says, let's receive. The masculine says, let's protect what's received. Every choice becomes dialogue between intuition and action, surrender and strength. For us, integration may look like this: working hard, but honoring rest as sacred, holding space for myself, but also for others, creating structure that serves life, not controls it, speaking truth with tenderness and authority, leading with compassion and clear boundaries. When we live this way, we feel connected to everything, to our bodies, to the people around us, the people we love, and to the pulse of nature itself. Because that's the truth. When we find balance within, the world around us begins to reflect it. The goddess divine spiritual figures, or as I like to call them, feminine archetypes, who have carried this wisdom across cultures and time, help us to understand balance. They each hold keys to different aspects of this balance. Yamaya, the ocean mother, embodies nurture with boundaries. She gives endlessly but never loses herself. The ocean replenishes even as it sustains. Ocean, goddess of rivers and sweetness, teaches the power of joy, sensuality, and pleasure. She teaches us that true beauty is not about vanity. It's a sacred expression of fulfilling the senses. Kali, fierce and uncompromising, carries sacred masculine energy within the feminine. She destroys illusion, clears the old, and creates space for the truth. Kali's my girl. She teaches that endings are also beginnings. Isis, mother of magic and rebirth, represents love in motion, the power to rebuild what once was broken. Bridget, the Celtic goddess of fire and healing, shows us that creativity and compassion coexist, that the same flame that warms can also transform. These archetypes are not distant deities. They are reflections of the spirit that already lives within all of us. Each one helps us see a part of ourselves that the world tells us to hide. I'm reminded that true sacred feminine authority is not about dominance. It's about integration. It's evolving from feminine leadership into sacred feminine authority. It's knowing how to hold softness and strength at the same time. Now, I mentioned before the generational trauma that so many of us, no matter what culture or background we come from, have inherited. And every time a woman chooses an energy to embody, she shifts the lineage. Because of generational trauma, the ancestral women have embodied an overactive masculine energy. To bring healing to the lineage, we must get our yin feminine and yang masculine back into a harmonious relationship. A woman with this balance teaches her children and the collective. When you heal, you become the ancestor someone else will thank. When you rest, you model a new rhythm. When you listen to your body, you give permission for others to do the same. That's how healing moves forward, not through force, but through embodiment and demonstration. The soft girl era, when lived consciously, is really a call to feminine leadership, not the kind that demands control, but the kind that restores connection. So I'm going to ask you this. Can we get beyond the aesthetic and do the real work of softness and walk into our true soft girl era? Because like any movement that starts from truth, it can easily become a performance. And I think it's beautiful to see more women embracing ease and luxury and self-care. But true softness can't be bought. Softness isn't a color palette or a filter or that perfect picture captured for our Instagram. It's not about matching your energy to a trend. It's about realignment. True softness means asking the hard questions. Can I rest without guilt? Can I be vulnerable without apology or explanation? Can I be open without losing discernment? Can I lead with empathy without abandoning accountability? This is the kind of softness that changes lives, the kind that requires courage, because softness without grounding becomes fragility, and grounding without softness becomes rigidity. Softness is not just the way you decorate your life, it's the way you inhabit your life. Softness isn't the absence of power. It's not being absent from life. It's power that's rooted, embodied, and awake. The world doesn't need any more women performing perfection. And we have been so far performing this perfection that we're now mutilating our bodies. And the world doesn't need anyone else, women especially, praying someone else will take over life's everyday trials. It needs more women willing to live in rhythm with their truth. So maybe this era we're asking to live in, this soft girl era, isn't about becoming something new. Maybe it's about returning to who we've always been and allowing our bodies to remember who we truly are and who we were before the armor, before the proving, before the world told us that hardness was the only way to survive. Softness is not a regression. It's a rebellion. It's the sacred rebellion that brings the world and itself back into harmony. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that you'll join me again next week for the Rebellious Wellness Podcast.